Walter Koenig, grazie per essere qui con noi alla Dipcon e di aver accettato di fare questa intervista. 50 anni di Star Trek. Qual è, nella sua opinione, l'eredità che lascia questo show e che cosa rappresenta per chi lo ama?
Star Trek is a living legacy. It perpetuates. It goes on and on and on. As you know, CBS has purchased the rights to do another Star Trek series, so that in addition to the films, the new films that are being made by J.J. Abrams' company, I think the way the films are being made, the way they were and the way they are, also reflects the reason for their longevity, because things do change. We came onto the scene in the 60s during the Vietnam War, at a terrible time. We spoke about the world and the crisis that the United States was involved in somewhat coded terms, and that is by projecting these problems into a future where it was more available to, and more people were more willing to listen. So that's why it was so successful then. In addition, we had good actors and we had fine creative writers who were talking about a time that when we will all get together, when there will be kind of a one world, a unity, at least on Earth, where there would not be the problems with interracial situations where all cultures and creeds had found a way to live in harmony. People like J.J. Abrams, who wrote and directed the first new movie, are well aware of what the demands of the film-going audience are today. And those are spectacle. They want to see spectacle. They want to see pyrotechnics. They want to see stunting and martial arts and amazing sequences of ships in space. And the focus on these days is on how can we make it as exciting as Star Wars and other films of that nature. In addition, Star Trek has become part of a national, a kind of a, we identify with Star Trek the way we do with sports teams. You have football in Italy that you're crazy about, yeah. and so it is throughout the world, and you root for those teams that you favor. You root for them. You identify with them. When they win, you feel like you have won. Star Trek has become that kind of a franchise as well. You root for those characters. You root for them to win. They are part of your life. You wear the parts of their uniforms, you know, people do. Caps and costumes. They go a little further. They wear costumes. And it makes them feel part of your family.
Qual è il suo episodio o film preferito della serie di Star Trek che vede la presenza del suo personaggio Pavel Chekov?
Well, that would have to be the fourth movie, Star Trek: The Voyage Home. That was great fun. I remember, to this day, I remember saying to myself, we were shooting up in San Francisco, and I said, Walter, stop and think a moment about this moment. This is a really nice moment for you. You are a principal in the action, not simply somebody standing around in the background as the character had been many times during the television series. But some of the action focuses on you. You are important to the story. There's jeopardy in your life, which will always draw in the audience. You have specific scenes as an actor, specific scenes that are not simply expository. And of course, expository meaning where you simply aren't just telling the story, but you are feeling the story.
Lei ha interpretato anche un altro grande personaggio di una serie di fantascienza molto importante e amata come Babylon 5, Alfred Bester. Ecco, quale personaggio tra Bester e Chekov è stato più interessante da interpretare?
Well, let me put it this way. I enjoy playing Bester more. There was more to do. His involvement was on a deeper level. He was pivotal to the story when he was on. I was treated with much respect by the cast and the crew. It was an adventure playing that character because the writer-producer kept throwing new things at me. Each time I appeared, there'd be something else for me to contend with, which I hadn't really anticipated. So this character was building as it went along. I was adding puzzle pieces. I thought it was just a small little puzzle with 4 pieces, and then he added here and here and here and here, and it became much more dimensional. And this is what I wanted my television experience to be. I am enormously grateful to Star Trek. I mean, without Star Trek, I'd probably be a psychologist today.
Nella sua lunga carriera lei ha recitato molto anche a teatro. Ci sono delle esperienze particolari sul palco o dei personaggi di cui è particolarmente fiero?
We did a play called The Boys in Autumn. Mark Lenard, who played Spock's father, and we took it on the road. And it was about Mark Twain and Huckleberry Finn meeting again after 40 years. And each has a deep, dark secret. And they're reluctant to say what their problems are. I also did Scrooge in Christmas Carol for 5 years, and found out, and that's a part where he never leaves the stage. He's there for the all 2 hours. There's a whole arc. There's a character arc that was wonderful to follow. To grow with the character.
C'è poi la sua esperienza con la scrittura, fumetti, ma anche romanzi. Ci vuole raccontare un po' questa esperienza?
Well, I liked comic books until I was about 12. And then I discovered the classics. And my father brought home a set of like 100 books. I gave up comics. I truly gave them up. But I didn't give up comic-related memorabilia. Little figures, little buttons, little cards. I started collecting those. I had them some as a child, and then I started another collection once I became an adult. The graphic novel, I wrote a Star Trek comic book. I was invited to write a comic book. And I said I would write it on the basis, on the understanding that Chekov would get the girl, save the ship, and be prominently displayed on the cover. Those were my 3 criteria. And they let me do that, fine, and that was fun, and it came easy. It came very easily to me. And then I was approached by another publishing company called Malibu, which is no longer in existence. And since then, I decided to write another one about the real beginning of vampires. And that was 4 comic books that we put into a graphic novel and issued as a graphic novel. Star Trek was gone. And ultimately I picked myself up by my bootstraps, and I said, I have to have some order, I have to have something to do every day. And I started writing, and I wrote a novel. I wrote a novel without any of the preparation that one should go into writing a novel. I didn't outline it, I didn't define the characters, I just wrote it as they came. And by some miracle, it all came together, story-wise. It was published 3 times by 3 different publishers. And now I'm trying to find something else to do with it.
Thank you very much.